भुजगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ कृष्ण कीर्तन गानन तन परौ प्रेमामृतांबुधि धीराधीर जन प्रिय प्रियकन नीम सजौ पूजितौ कृष्ण कीर्तन गानन तन परौ।
Nectar of Devotion, Chapter 8, Offenses to be Avoided. The offenses against the chanting of the holy name are as follows. First, to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord. Second, to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. Sometimes the atheistic class of men take it that any demigod is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. But one who is a devotee knows that no demigod, however great he may be, is independently as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, if someone thinks that he can chant Kali, Kali or Durga, Durga, and it is the same as Hare Krishna, that is the greatest offense. Third, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. Fourth, to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. Fifth, to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. Sixth, to give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. Seventh, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord. Because by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can be freed from all kinds of sinful reactions. It should not be taken that one may continue to act sinfully and after that chant Hare Krishna to neutralize his sins. Such a dangerous mentality is very offensive and should be avoided. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities. Karma Kanda. 9th, to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. Anyone can take part in chanting the holy name of the Lord, but in the beginning one should not be instructed about the transcendental potency of the Lord. Those who are too sinful cannot appreciate the transcendental glories of the Lord, and therefore it is better not to instruct them in this matter. 10th, to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names, and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakti. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to the Sunday reading of the Delhi edition of the Srimad Bhagavatam by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, founder and Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement, and also the Hare Krishna movement. The class is being conducted by His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa, who is a senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And I would also like to welcome all the other senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada that are present and all the members who are joining. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu saw Srila Prabhupada as a teenager and soon joined the Hare Krishna movement in the 1960s. He received first initiation from Srila Prabhupada in August 1969. He was instrumental, along with Guru Kripa Swami and the devotees of the Namahatta party in Japan, in funding the construction of three major temples, the Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan, the Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir in Mayapur near Calcutta, West Bengal, and the Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan Temple in Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh. He traveled extensively throughout South India with Guru Kripa Swami in 1972 and 1973, and in 1975 and 1976 with Achyutananda Swami, and also Mahanksha Swami. He was also made in charge of the installation of the deities in the Hyderabad temple in 1976 and the temple in Fiji in 1977. In late 1976, Srila Prabhupada also selected him to manage the Bhaktivedanta Swami Gurukul in Vrindavan. So now, without further delay, I would like to turn the program over to Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. Prabhu, your microphone needs to be turned on.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. My apology for the delay here. Just having a few little computer issues this morning, finally reestablished connection. Thank you very much for this introduction, and I sincerely hope that the ceremony event for your father is in good wishes with you. I found it interesting. I didn't know exactly when he departed, but the night before, I spent about an hour and a half with some special puja and special prayers for your father and your family. But I know that he either is with Krishna or a very, very auspicious, very good destination.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. He passed away at 11:05 the next morning on Wednesday morning, and he was listening to the two favorite bhajans at the end of Srila Prabhupada with the Hare Krishna Kirtan in New York, and also the Hare Krishna bhajan, soft bhajan. And that's what he'd asked for, and as it turned out, that's what he listened to in the last few moments.
Very, very nice. Very nice. So we will proceed with our program for today. What we discuss is where we're going to review and read from Prabhupada's statements about the behavior of Mādhavendra Purī Gosvāmī. As we all know, Mādhavendra Purī is one of the great acharyas in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. He was the spiritual master of Ishvara Purī, who was also the spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we'll be reading first from a section of Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 17, text 185. Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 17, text 185. Title is Self-Deceived Persons Sometimes Accept Leaders or Spiritual Masters from a priestly order that has been officially appointed by the codes of material life. In this way, they are deceived by official priests. Prabhupada states, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following commentary on this passage. A sadhu or an honest man is called a Mahajan or a Mahatma. The Mahatma is thus described in Bhagavad Gita. Mahatmanas tumam partha devim prakritimashrita bhajantananya manaso gnatva bhutademavyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 13. In the material world, the word Mahatma is understood in different ways by different religionists. Mundaners also come up with their different angles of vision. For the conditioned soul busy in sense gratification, a Mahajana is recognized according to the proportion of sense gratification he offers. For instance, a businessman may consider a certain banker to be a Mahajan, and karmis desiring material enjoyment may consider philosophers like Jaimini to be Mahajans. There are many yogis who want to control the senses, and for them, Patanjali Rishi is a Mahajana. For the Jnanis, the atheists, Kapila, Vasishta, Durvasa, Dattatreya, and other impersonalist philosophers are Mahajanas. For the demons, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, Ravana's son Meghanada, Jarasandha, and others are accepted as Mahajanas. From materialistic anthropologists speculating on the evolution of the body, a person like Darwin is a Mahajana. The scientists who are bewildered by Krishna's external energy have no relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet they are accepted by some as Mahajanas. Similarly, philosophers, historians, literary men, public speakers, and social and political leaders are sometimes accepted as Mahajanas. Such Mahajanas are respected by certain men who have been described in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text 19. Shvavid Barahosrakarai Samstuta Purusha Pashuhu Nayat Karna Pato Peto Jatunama Gadagrajaha. Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, the deliverer from evils. Thus, on the material platform, animalistic leaders are worshipped by animals. Sometimes physicians, psychiatrists, and social workers try to medicate bodily pain, distress, and fear, but they have no knowledge of spiritual identity and are bereft of a relationship with God. Yet, they are considered Mahajans by the illusion. Self-deceived persons sometimes accept leaders or spiritual masters from a priestly order that has been officially appointed by the codes of material life. In this way, they are deceived by official priests. Let me just repeat that for a second here. Self-deceived persons sometimes accept leaders or spiritual masters from a priestly order that has been officially appointed by the codes of material life. In this way, they are deceived by official priests. Sometimes people accept as Mahajanas those who have been designated by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur as Danga Vipras, impostor Brahmanas. Such impostors imitate the characteristics of Srila Haridas Thakur, and they envy Haridas Thakur, who was certainly a Mahajan. They make great artificial endeavors, advertising themselves as great devotees of the Lord, or as mystic hypnotists, knowledgeable in witchcraft, hypnotism, and miracles. Sometimes people accept demons like Putana, Trinabarta, Vatsa, Baka, Agasura, and Denuka, Kaliya, and Pralamba. Such people accept imitators and adversaries of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such as Pongala, Srigal Vasudev, the spiritual master of the demons, Shukracharya, or atheists like Charvaka, King Vena, Sugava, Sugata, and Arhat. Such people have no faith in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, they accept godless cheaters who present themselves as incarnations of God and cheat foolish people within the material world by word jugglery. Thus, many rascals are accepted as Mahajanas. Again, this was from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 17, text 185. Another very interesting purport by Prabhupada, heading, they may also professionally recite the Bhagavatam or other scriptures, worship the deity in the temple, and initiate disciples. Making a show of devotional paraphernalia, they may also collect money from the public and use it to cure the disease of some family member or near relative. The deliverance of Gopinath Patanayaka. Tumar bhajan phale tumar premadan, vishaya lagi tumaya bhaje simurkajan. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Kashi Mishra continued, if one engages in devotional service for your satisfaction, this will result in his increasingly awakening his dormant love for you. But if one engages in your devotional service for material purposes, he should be considered a number one fool. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura comments that there are many materialistic persons who become preachers, gurus, religionists, or philosophers only for the sake of maintaining a high standard of living and sense gratification for themselves and their families. Sometimes they adopt the dress of a sannyasi or preacher. They train some of their family members as lawyers and continually seek help from a high court to acquire riches on the plea of maintaining temples. Although such persons may call themselves preachers, live in Vrindavana or Navadvip, and also print many religious books, it is all for the same purpose, namely to earn a living to maintain their wives and children. They may also professionally recite the Bhagavatam or other scriptures, worship the deity in the temple, and initiate disciples. Making a show of devotional paraphernalia, they may also collect money from the public and use it to cure the disease of some family member or near relative. Sometimes they become Babajis or collect money on the plea of worshiping the poor, whom they call Daridra Narayana, or for social and political upliftment. Thus, they spread a network of business schemes to collect money for sense gratification by cheating people in general who have no knowledge of pure devotional service. Such cheaters cannot understand that by offering devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can be elevated to a position of eternal servitude to the Lord, which is even greater than the position of Brahma and other demigods. Unfortunately, fools have no understanding of the perpetual pleasure of devotional service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained the path of pure devotion in his Shikshastakam. Srila Prabhupada. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction. His criteria of success is the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus he is the perfect sannyasi or perfect yogi. Lord Chaitanya, the highest perfectional symbol of renunciation, prays in this way. Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmaneshware bhavatad bhakteraitu kitvaye. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. This is from purport from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, text number 1. Next, so far we are concerned, we are being trained up by following the footsteps of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam bhajagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishwari bhavatad bhakti retu kitvaye. This is a letter from Srila Prabhupada to Kṛṣṇadāsa in October 8, 1974. Please accept my blessings. I am very pleased to receive your letter dated September 11th, 1974, and have noted the contents with great delight. The thing is, where is the question of making any conspiracy? The materialistic man creates diplomacy and conspiracy for sense gratification. Everyone wants in the material world some reputation, profit, and some adoration. But so far we are concerned, we are being trained up by following the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam bhajagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavatad bhakti retu kitvayi. From Antya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shikshastaka, text 4. My Lord, I do not want any monetary gain, neither in a number of followers or wife, but simply I want to be engaged in your causeless devotional service, which means I do not even want salvation. So if actually we follow the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where is the question of a conspiracy? Very important letter. Next, we have another text. This is from Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 22, text 42. Stanabilasi tapasi stitoham Tvam praptavan deva munindra guhyam kacham vichinvamapi divyaratnam swamin kritartosmi varam nayachi. Translation from His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupāda. When he was benedicted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dhruva Maharaj said, "O my Lord, because I was seeking an opulent material position, I was performing severe types of penance and austerity. Now I've gotten you, who are very difficult for the great demigods, saintly persons, and kings to attain. I was searching after a piece of glass, but instead I have found a most valuable jewel. Therefore, I am so satisfied that I do not wish to ask any benediction from you." Very important verse. Next, we have very important verses given by Srila Prabhupada in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The example of Sri Kṛṣṇadāsa Kavirāja in his amazing humility. This is cited from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 1, text number 27. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi 5:205, Kṛṣṇadāsa Kavirāja Gosvāmī also thinks of himself in such a humble way. Jagai madayoete mui se papishta, purisher kitoete mui se lagishta. I am worse sinner than Jagai and Madai, and am even lower than the worms in the stool. A pure devotee always thinks himself more deficient than everyone else. If a devotee approaches Srimati Radharani to offer service to Krishna, even Srimati Radharani thinks that the devotee is greater than she. Thus, Narada Muni says that according to his opinion, the enemies of Krishna are better situated because they are fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna in terms of killing him, just as a very lusty man always thinks of women and their association. Then we have several texts from Chaitanya Charitamrita, We just read this one. Jagai madayo eti muise papista, purisher kito eti muise lagista. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. I am more sinful than Jagai and Madai, and even lower than the worms in the stool. From Adi Lila, chapter 5, text 205. Moranam shunayetar punyakshay, moranam loyetar papahai. Translation. Anyone who hears my name loses the results of his pious activities. Anyone who utters my name becomes sinful. From Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 5, text 206. Imana nirgrina morakeba kripakare, eka nityananda vinu jagat bhitare. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Who in this world but Nityananda could show his mercy to such an abominable person as me? From Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 5, text 207. Next, we have the example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When one is engaged in devotional service, is no longer attracted to material activities. When a man is covered by different designations, he cannot engage in devotional service. One is to become freed from such designated activities. Sarvopadi vinik murtam, Madhya Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 19, text 170. And become pure in order to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead through purified senses. Rishikena rishikesa sevanam bhakti ruchyate. The service of the Lord through purified senses is called bhakti yoga, or devotional service. The sincere devotee is always helped by the supersoul who resides within the heart of every living entity, as Lord Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text number 10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. This is the stage of becoming free from the contamination of the material world. At such a time, a devotee makes friends with another devotee, and his engagement in material activities ceases completely. At that time, he attains the favor of the Lord and loses his faith in material civilization, which begins with Varnashrama Dharma. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaks clearly of one's becoming liberated from the Varnashram Dharma, the most exalted system of human civilization. At such a time, one feels himself to be perpetually the servant of Lord Krishna, a position taken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Nam vipro nacha narapatir napi vaishuna shudro nam varni nacha griyapatir novanastu yatirava kintu prodyan nikila paramananda purnamritabder gopi bartuhu padakamalayur dasa dasa nudasaha. From Padyavali, text 63. I'm not a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. I'm not a Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, or a Sannyasi. What am I? I am the eternal servant of the servant of the servant of Lord Krishna. Through the disciplic succession, one can attain this conclusion, which is perfect elevation to the transcendental platform. This is cited from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, text 29, chapter 29, text 46. It should be noted that this last verse that we just recited here, this is also quoted in the Archan Padati as one of the verses that one is supposed to recite before engaging in deity worship. Just one second. It's called the Buddha Shuddhi, or purification of the mind, by thinking oneself as an eternal spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, humbly asking him to render some service. So there's a process called Vishnu Smaranam, several verses that were compiled by Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Then there's another one called Swasti Vachanam, requesting auspiciousness by reciting different names of Lord Krishna. And then it's called Buddha Shuddhi, or purification of the mind, because we are not worshiping Krishna with our material body, but as eternal spirit soul trying to render service. So this particular verse is one of the verses that is cited. Interestingly, in 1973, Guru Kripa Swami and myself had gone to see Srila Prabhupada. On the 31st of December, 1973, we saw him in his room in Los Angeles. And as part of the discussions, Guru Kripa Swami brought certain concerns and issues that had been raised about another godbrother. And Prabhupada remarked, I have noticed that he is always trying to be number one. Prabhupada said, that is not our philosophy. Our philosophy is, and he quoted that verse, the last two lines of that verse from Padyavali. Our philosophy is not to be number one, but Gopi Bhartuhu Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Nudasaha, to become the servant of the servant of the servant. Says that is Vaishnava. Not this mentality that I'm always number one, trying to control everyone, just as a point of interest. Ishan Prabhu, I was wondering, maybe you could like to pass a few comments about what we've been reading and discussing.
Hare Krishna. We've covered a lot of subject matters. We begin by, this whole idea, we have to understand what our real self-interest is. That was one of the very strong points. That spiritual life is not for enhancing our material status or standing in the material world. And there is that, I don't remember the exact words, but it said there seems to be a tendency in the material world for people to give honor and respect to people who are actually very materialistic and accept them according to the process and codes of material life as spiritual leaders. This is exactly what is going on today in what we call ISKCON, that according to people's votes, according to the nonsense of the votes of conditioned souls, we're accepting another conditioned soul as a spiritual master who can guide us on the road back home, back to Godhead, so that we can be in touch with Krishna, when in fact these same so-called teachers cannot even have a living relationship with Krishna himself, with themselves. And not only can they not have a personal relationship with Krishna themselves, but they're offenders to Krishna's pure devotee, and in this way they're paving their own path to hell. And people are taking such people as their spiritual masters or Mahatmas, as we were reading. So all of these things are going on. We have to understand that the purpose of life, somehow or other, all of us here, all of us, we've been envious of Krishna, and we would like to all be very wonderful people who are Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim, Lord Chaitanya's teaching, that I don't want to be worshipped. I don't want to have followers. All I want is service. So we actually are here because we have made this great blunder, and we're now because of millions of lifetimes of trying to be number one, which was also mentioned by Srila Prabhupada in what we are reading. We have this strong desire. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta writes that if we're going to spread Krishna consciousness, we need the same thing that one needs in any part of material world, an organized, what do they have? Land, labor, capital, and organization. These things are necessary to make a movement. But the people who are brought in to construct this movement, they're all conditioned souls. And they bring all of these self-centered desires to be somebody great. They bring all this with them. And in this way, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says, it's a necessary evil. We're bringing these evil people with their evil propensities into the organization in order to make something by which we can distribute books, knowledge, classes, temples, etc. And unfortunately, as soon as the Acharya, the real represented, the personal, intimate associate of Krishna, who has come from Krishna Loka only to give us these teachings, as soon as he departs, all hell breaks loose, and these people want to change everything. They want to destroy everything. I was thinking this morning, there is no difference between wanting to poison Srila Prabhupada and changing his books and changing his deity worship process that he's given us. There's no difference between wanting to kill Srila Prabhupada and doing these things. These people are simply demonic, and we have to see them as such and understand, even though they're posing themselves as great Mahatma. Hare Krishna.
You're raising some very important points, because what happens is that many devotees will raise the issue, how could it be that people who had so much personal, physical, living association with Prabhupada, who were with Prabhupada practically every day, held the high offices in his society, got many personal letters from Srila Prabhupada, got a lot of personal, physical association with Prabhupada, how could this disaster that took place in the movement after Srila Prabhupada, how could this happen? Well, one of the reasons is that people do not carefully follow Prabhupada's instructions. That's one reason. Another reason is people do not take the time to properly read the books and study the books. Not just casual perusal of the book, but deep, detailed study of the books. And number three, discuss everything from all angles of vision. Now, when that is eliminated, and one simply relies on the fact that he was physically present with Prabhupada, there can be problems. And the historical example is what took place in 1937 in the Gaudiya Math. Many of these individuals had very much a lot of close physical living association with His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. They were very intimate associates of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. They did a lot of very personal service, but yet they deviated. They fractured his organization. Why? What happened? Prabhupada explains this. So those of you who are familiar with Prabhupada's poetry in the late 1950s and early 60s, when he was living in Jhansi and we moved to Vrindavan at the Radha Damodar temple, Prabhupada explained one time that the mission is divided into many branches, and the tigress of Pratishta has contributed to this. Pratishta means the desire for name, fame, power, position, profit, adoration, distinction. That is the disease. What we're reading today with these quotes from Srila Prabhupada in his books is how to prevent this problem. Now, I know as part of Ishan's Prabhu's many discussions, he many times quoted that verse that we could write in that example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite. That the idea of rendering service is not some mechanical thing. Prabhupada, one time there was a video I've seen on YouTube. Prabhupada said, when you chant Hare Krishna, don't chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, but to chant with some love, with some affection. Hear every word. Think of what, because Prabhupada realized, he knew that Krishna is non-different from his name. He's completely transcendental. Just like Prabhupada used to often quote from the Padma Purana, Abhinatvam nama naminaha. The nama, the name of Krishna, is non-different than the nami. Nami means the person Krishna. So this is very important. If we understand that Krishna is non-different from his transcendental name, then we cannot engage, we will not engage in mechanical so-called chanting. Like there was a letter that Prabhupada sent in the middle 1970, where some devotees were complaining that there was difficulty in the society. And Prabhupada says, if there is any difficulty in the society, it means that the instructions of the spiritual master are being neglected. I'm paraphrasing here. In other words, Prabhupada has given all instruction, just like today we're reading about the behavior of Mādhavendra Purī. And there's so many instructions and so many warnings by Srila Prabhupada, because many times new devotees will ask, well, Prabhupada introduced so many blissful things, the chanting, the Tulsi worship, the Bhagavatam reading, the prasadam, the beautiful kirtan. This is all beautiful. But has he also given us warnings of what to avoid, what not to do, how not to behave? Well, there's plenty of that. And I mean, if we follow the principles and rely on sincerely serving Krishna, even if one doesn't read the books, the realization will come. But the books have been written to educate us. Prabhupada would spend all night writing these books. And many times he complained, I have not written these books, not just for selling and making money. It's for you to read. There was one lecture where Prabhupada got very heavy. He says, don't waste so much time eating and sleeping. Read the books. Read the books. He said it twice. I know I had a personal experience with Srila Prabhupada in Calcutta when I went to ask Prabhupada to give me sannyas. And Prabhupada said, do you chant your rounds? And you know, when you were in front of Prabhupada, sometimes he would lean over his coffee table and zoom in on you like a laser. I said, yes, Prabhupada, I chant 25 rounds a day. At that time, I was doing that. Says, and then he leaned further in and he says, have you read my books? I says, yes, Prabhupada. He says, which books have you read? Now it was getting very serious. As he was getting closer and closer and I was there, he says, which book have you read? You tell me. I said, well, I've read your Bhagavad Gita, the first 3 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, the 2nd canto, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Krishna book, Nectar of Devotion, Easy Journey to Other Planet, Isha Upanishad. He says, and Prabhupada looked at me and said, who is Krishna? That was like, I said, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This you have explained in all your books. He says, yes, you can have sannyas, because at that time we were supposed to go to China with another Canadian devotee. The point being that Prabhupada wanted to see every one of his followers, every one of his students, whether they were with him 24 hours a day or in the field preaching, simply to engage, chant, and read the books. In 1970, as more and more devotees were joining the movement, Prabhupada wrote a letter to one of these leaders, very respectfully, and he mentioned, now that we've got so many devotees, we should boil the milk. He says, boil the milk. In other words, train the devotees. It's not so important to make new devotees, but train the devotees now that are existing. He says, what good are many devotees if none of them are knowledgeable? Prabhupada was not interested in creating a society of sahajiyas. That was not Prabhupada's ideas. He complained. Many times he gave warning that his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, used to say, When our men will become sahajiyas, they will become more dangerous, unquote. Sahaj, you mean they think everything very cheap, very sentimental. No, it's nice to have many devotees, big programs, that's nice, but let's understand the philosophy. This is very important. Just like some people complain that several years ago, some devotees dress a deity of Radha Krishna as Santa Claus. Is this what Prabhupada taught? Or introduced some demigod worship in ISKCON? What? No, Prabhupada did not introduce that. Or some kind of kirtan where they manufactured some new words. Prabhupada, when he was in Vrindavan, everybody would see him and they would offer respects, or Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe. And Prabhupada praised it. There's nothing wrong with chanting the name of Radhe. Is desirable, but we should follow the standards of the Acharyas. The reason people are inventing new words, new mantras, new bhajans, because they're not satisfied by following the proper process that has been given by Prabhupada and the previous Acharya. Let me give an example. In 1977, with the Gurukul children, where we're in Vrindavan, we would go there every day and do kirtan for several hours for Srila Prabhupada. So what happened is one time Prabhupada stopped the kirtan. He says, why you're chanting Bhaja Sri Krishna Chaitanya? I said, well, Prabhupada, in some of your earlier tapes in 66, 67, you chanted like that. He says, yes, that may be, but from now on you should say Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya. So after the kirtan, I asked one of the personal servants, what was that all about? He says, well, Prabhupada was concerned about some of the Sahajiya ashrams in Raman Reti, where they chant Hare Krishna Hare Ram, Nitai Gaur Bhajesh Hare Shyam, Bhaja Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam, some kind of concocted mantra that had come from Bengal, from some Sahajiyas. And Prabhupada did not want the devotees in his society to engage in Sahajiya chanting. I said, oh, okay. I mean, I don't know if this was recorded anywhere, but it was a very clear instruction. In other words, now with some temples, we see people are inventing Jai Sri Krishna, Bolo Radhe, Jai Bolo. I mean, what are these bhajans? Did Prabhupada introduce this? Did Prabhupada give this chanting? It's like recently, one devotee who is one of the members of HKS, he's organizing a Ratha Yatra in Bombay, India, Mumbai, Maharashtra. So he was asking, well, what should we chant? I said, well, chant Namam Vishnu Padaya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna. And you can chant this bhajan, Jai Jagannatha Swami, Nayana Patagami Bhavatume. Prabhupada introduced that. But the difficulty is, as we know in India, there's many people in that culture, they have so many different ways of chanting this, chanting that. Even in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, there's just so many different ways that people do things. But we, as followers of Srila Prabhupada, as students of Srila Prabhupada, and devotees who have pledged to try to follow the discipline given by Prabhupada, we should follow the way he has given. Same thing with his books. Before we had the program today, I got a very nice email from Ishan Prabhu. It says something should be done about this. There's a website, prabhupadbooks.com. They have the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. They claim it's an original website, but he compared it to his version that he had in 1968, which he says they've made changes. I said, yes, that's the big problem. Many of the original teachings and books of Srila Prabhupada have been changed, even during his manifested presence. People say, why do you always keep talking about this? Because it's not been corrected. It's not been solved. If there is a problem in a company, I know I used to work for a big legal department of a big major multi-billion-dollar company. And whenever there was a big major issue, either legal issue, managerial issue, or anything, they would convene a committee. They would arrange some of the best legal minds or best managerial minds to discuss things. This was not a dictatorship system. This was a discussion system to get the very best practices and best solutions to solve the problem. In our movement, How many complaints have there been about this book changes? It's still there every single day. There have been entire websites dedicated to this. But we do not see any action to revert back and change these, to modify and return books back to the original. Personally, I had the opportunity to be chastised by Srila Prabhupada very severely after the rascal editor's conversation on June 22nd, 1977 in Vrindavan in Prabhupada's room. After everybody had dispersed, I happened to be sitting in Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada was very upset. He was angry when he found out that some of his books were being changed and re-edited during his manifested presence. So Prabhupada took his paperweight and he went like this, very loud thump, and he screamed at me. He says, "You there, you tell them, this GBC, that if they change one word of what I've written, it will spoil everything I've done." Says, "Get out and write a letter." I was so stunned, I couldn't move. Prabhupada said, I said, "Get out and write a letter. Tell him not to change anything." And how many changes have they done to Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita after that? How many changes have they done to the first 4 canto of Bhagavatams? How many changes have they done to teachings of Lord Chaitanya? All under the idea of grammatical embellishment and perpetual re-editing. Why is it that in India, the 2 oldest Vaishnava Sampradayas, as a matter of fact, all Vaishnava Sampradayas, never, ever, ever changed the original writings of their founder and their great acharyas? For example, in the Madhva Sampradaya, Anandatirtha, Madhvacharya, is Brahma Sutta Bhashya. No one will touch a single syllable. All the subsequent writings of Jayatirtha, Vyasatirtha, Raghavendra Swami, same thing in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya of Ramanujacharya, the writings of Yamunacharya, the Sri Bhashya of Ramanuja, the subsequent writing of Sureswaracharya, Vedanta Dishaka, Pillai Lokacharya, all these great acharyas, no one will touch. Although in Sanskrit, you can change things from one Trinada Pisunichena to Trinada, there's different ways of writing Sanskrit, of changing. Now, they may say, well, the books were written in English and it needed to be presented. So Prabhupada allowed some editing in the beginning. He had his editor, Ayagriva, do the editing under his supervision. But then some other bright individual, some other geniuses thought, let's improve. Let's change this. Let's change that. When Prabhupada heard about it, he says, they cannot change anything. Now, I'll admit that English is not my first language. Never mind, I've worked for different law firms and legal departments for almost 28 years and edited legal documents under supervision of very competent attorneys. But that's not the point. The point being, Prabhupada said the next printing again should be the original way. That was never done. Same thing we're talking about the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. The argument has been placed before one of these brilliant editors, one of these geniuses. So since you've edited all these books, what's to prevent somebody 80 years, 100 years, 120 years from now to re-edit it again? Because as we know, English language is a Mlecha language. It's changed over the years. If you study the linguistic origin of the English language, it came originally from French, which came from Latin. Latin also came very close to Sanskrit. There was no English language 5,000 years ago. So it kept changing. If you look at the old English manuscript from 400 or 500 years ago, it was very different. But in Sanskrit, it's not like that. It doesn't change every 2 weeks. So Prabhupada did not want his books to be changed. Anyway, the genius editor had no reply. He says, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, really? Maybe you should think a little deeper. Why did Prabhupada request not to change his books? Why? I was told by a devotee who was in Prabhupada's room in Los Angeles, California, that Prabhupada one time had the Krishna book, and they were asking him questions about putting new paintings in the book. And Prabhupada took the Krishna book and he says, the books, when it's reprinted, should be covered. He put it the front cover it should be printed from the front cover. He turned around from the back cover, everything inside exactly the same. Do not change anything. It's very clear. It's not very difficult to understand. It's not complicated to understand. Prabhupada used to say, this is the American disease. This is the Western disease. Constantly trying to change. In Vrindavan in 1977, Prabhupada requested a devotee to go to Mathura. He wanted the devotee to go to a specific pharmacy, get a specific medication, and to pay a specific price or range of price. The devotee ended up going to the wrong pharmacy, got the wrong medication, and paid more than what Prabhupada told him. And Prabhupada looked at this and he says, this is the American disease, the Western disease. You're constantly changing. Why? Why can't you just follow the instruction? And this is the problem in the movement. Now, I didn't just say society, in the movement in general, they want to change everything. Why? Because this is the disease of the conditioned souls. They want to change everything. Liberated souls do not change. Yes, Ishan Prabhu, please, comment.
Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, he mentioned this idea. New mantras are being introduced everywhere. Now, I'm going to make some very, very bold statements, and I beg you, as individual devotees, to really try and hear what I'm going to say. This idea, I'm going to say this. Very, very few of us even understand how to chant Hare Krishna. I'm going to mention some quotes. And Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu was talking about the necessity of reading our books. Everything I'm going to say is coming right out of our books. How to chant Hare Krishna. Okay. Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And why we have to keep changing, because there's no taste in what we're doing. Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, chapter 18. Quote, Lord Chaitanya is describing how he became ecstatic, chanting the holy name in this chapter. Srila Prabhupada writes, quote, the process is, describing how we should chant, the process is that the spiritual master chants the mantra, and the sound vibration goes into the ear of the disciple. And if the disciple begins to chant with the same feeling, this becomes the worship of the holy name. We talk about engaging in Krishna consciousness under the guidance of a pure devotee, quote unquote. This is what it means, under the guidance. The process is that the spiritual, bona fide, Srila Prabhupada says, spiritual master chants the mantra, and the sound vibration enters into the ear of the disciple. And if the disciple begins to chant with the same feeling, this becomes the worship of the holy name. Next sentence, and when the holy name becomes worshipped in this way, the holy name spreads his glories within the heart of such a disciple. How many of us, second line, third line in our Gayatri mantra, and Garudavaya Vidmahi Kṛṣṇadāya Dhimahi Tanagaro Prachod. Translation, let us meditate on our Guru and become enthused in our hearts in the same way that we feel his enthusiasm. This is same idea. You get this devotional feeling. How? From someone who has the feeling. Now go to Srimad Bhagavatam 1:5-25. Pure devotion, quote, first sentence, is as much infectious but in a good sense, like an infectious disease. You catch it from someone who has it, in other words. Further down, same purport, infection of the pure qualities of the pure devotee means what? Quote, to imbibe the taste of devotion in the association of. Again, we're learning to be devotee by being in touch, intimate, Srila Prabhupada, with someone who is a devotee. And then you go a little further and you say, oh, every morning we're singing. Prema bhakti yaha hoite avid yavinashayate. 2 sentences, 2 lines. From him this loving feeling of Krishna emanates. By him our ignorance is destroyed. How is our ignorance destroyed? That if we can catch that emanation and begin to engage in that way our ignorance is destroyed. And so what is the last line? Ha ha Prabhu Koradoya Deho more pada. Oh Master, be merciful unto me. Let me understand. Srila Bhaktivinoda, let me understand what devotion is. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes this prayer in our songbook. To the spiritual master, I am offering you all respect. For in this way I'll be able to understand your devotional feeling. Then I can chant the holy name with the devotional feeling. Then all my offenses will cease. Avidyavana, from him that comes, and if we can imbibe some of it, avidyavanashayate, all my offenses will cease. It's the same question, same process described in 100 different ways, and it's in our books. And Srila Prabhupada says, read my books. And we are chanting Hare Krishna, and he's saying you're chanting like a parrot. In one quote, he says that the cat, no, he says the parrot can chant Hare Krishna, but when the cat comes and grabs the parrot by the neck, then squawk, squawk. Srila Prabhupada was imitating the parrot. I can't do so nicely. So when death comes to us, it's going to be just like the cat is catching the parrot by the neck. He says, how you will chant. So the taste has to be there. Then he says, okay, Haridas Thakur is explaining in Harinam Chintamani. Lord Chaitanya is asking how we chant Harinam. Haridas Thakur says, when we chant our Hare Krishna mantra, we meditate on 2, on Krishna and our Guru. Same idea, because this is, therefore Srila Prabhupada said, apprenticeship program. You can get information from a book to become a doctor, but when you want to practice, you have to become an intern in the hospital, practice under the master. Apprenticeship program, intern program. It's in so many ways is being explained that to become a devotee, we have to work under the guidance of a pure devotee. And that's all of this is in our literature. The inquiry, submission, and service. 434 Bhagavad Gita. What is the inquiry? Srila Prabhupada says, nonsense questions condemned. He also says, blind following condemned. What is blind following of our process? Blind following of our process means I'm doing it with no realization, but I'm just doing it thinking that one day I'll receive a blessing. That's blind following. He wants us to have, so he says, and nonsense questions, inquiry, condemned. What is the real question? I won't take much more time. What is the real question? The real question is given in Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Srila Prabhupada explains chapter 12. There's a list of things, a list of items that number 4, quote, this, he says, the neophyte devotee should do these things. For number 4, inquire and learn love from the spiritual master. This for the neophyte. Inquire and learn love. So that means that is the inquiry. What is Srila Prabhupada? What is this Krishna consciousness? What is this feeling of, what is Krishna consciousness? Krishna consciousness is love of Krishna. What is this feeling of love of, that is the inquiry. Then there's the inquiry, submission. What is submission? Ha Prabhu Koradoya Dehom. Please be merciful unto me. Let me understand this mood of devotion. From you this love of Krishna emanates. How can I taste too? That is submission. Not simply obedience is good. They do that in the army. They do that when a policeman arrests someone on the street. They submit. Submission means anuga, to follow the emotional feeling of one who has that emotional feeling. We call ourselves Prabhupada Anuga. It means more than obedience. It means to follow his, in so many ways we can explain the same paradigm. The inquiry, submission, and service. So the inquiry is, what is this love? Submission means my heart is open enough that I ardently want to feel your presence, Srila Prabhupada, so that I can also chant Hare Krishna. And service means that I begin to chant in that way, under his guidance, for his pleasure. And what is the last line in that purport? What is the last line in that purport, 434? Someone should, 434, here it is, the last line in 434. I give it to you, one more page. 33, 34. When therefore the student is submissive, that means I'm able, oh, my heart is open enough to feel your presence, Srila Prabhupada. When therefore the student is, and always ready to render service, ready to engage under his guidance, by feeling what he's feeling and chanting with that same, then the reciprocation of real knowledge and inquiry, what is this Krishna consciousness, becomes perfect. That's how it happens. When we are submissive to his presence, when we're submissive to his presence and ready to render service, following in his footsteps, Prabhupada Anuga, this is what it means. And so this is how we chant Hare Krishna. How can we invent some other mantra if we're following Srila Prabhupada in such an intimate way he's not giving? But because we're not knowing how to chant, therefore everything becomes invented, new things, oh, very nice things. So I'm begging you, anybody, to try and understand. Anyone can do this, to chant under his guidance, for his pleasure, and when he sees that we're actually trying to serve in this way, he shares more of himself with us. This is the process from the lowest platform to the highest platform. It's always based 5:15:25 Bhagavatam, from the lowest platform to the highest platform. All the service we're rendering is in the association of the pure devotee, and that is the purport of this stanza, unquote. This is our simple philosophy. It's not something complicated. It's our simple, try to understand. It's not by doing in obedience that one day the bolt of lightning is going to come from the Krishna Loka and I'll have realization. It's something we have to cultivate.
Hare Krishna.
His guidance.
Excuse me. Sorry for interrupting, but I want to make sure we don't run out of time. It's past 12 o'clock here, so.
Okay, good. Let's have the Bhagavatam. Let's have the Jai Radha Madhava from Srila Prabhupada and then the Bhagavatam. Thank you very much, Ishan, for these realizations. Thank you.
And today, before I play the Jai Radha Madhava, I'd like to share the original translation because, as Ishan Prabhu pointed out, the tapes we've been playing before don't have the exact translation. So I'll take just 2 minutes to read the translation from the original songbook from 1974 of Jai Radha Madhava, and which goes, Sri Radha Madhava have their loving pastimes in the groves, Kunja of Vrindavan. Gopi Jana Vallabha means one who attracts and reciprocates loving pastimes with the gopis. Giri Varadhari is Krishna's name in the pastime of lifting Govardhan hill. Yaśodā-nandana is the son of Yaśoda. Nanda means son and is also the name of Krishna's father, so Krishna is also Nanda Nandana. Brajajana Ranjana means the attractive darling of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. He is always playing in the groves, Vana, of the bank, Tira, of the Yamuna river. Therefore, Krishna is also known as Yamuna Tira Vanachari. And the original songbook has this wonderful pastime of Srila Prabhupada. In parentheses, it says, Srila Prabhupada is very fond of this song and sings it just before his lectures. In Allahabad and Gorakhpur, Srila Prabhupada fell into a trance after singing the first 2 lines. And after some time, he came back into external consciousness and said, now just chant Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says that this song is a picture of Vrindavan. Everything is there, Srimati Radharani, Vrindavan, Govardhan, Yashoda, and all the cowherd boys. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and play the bhajan.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava
Jai Nitilira Pravishtam Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajakacarya Ashtottara Shatashri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jayam Swaparam Kṛṣṇadāsa Sadasyaman Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindra Ki Jai. Nāmācārya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Swami To Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Swami To Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskrityam. Narayanam namaskrityam. Naram cheva narottamam. Naram cheva narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayam Mudirayat. Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning. Then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1 to 4. Welcome everyone to this reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. This week we are reading from Canto 1, Chapter 8, text number 11 and 12. Sutta Vacha Upadarya Vachastasya Bhagavan Bhaktavatsalah Apandavamidam Kartum Dronerastram Abhudyata. Sutta Vacha. Sutta Gosvāmī said, Upadarya, by hearing her patiently, Vachas, words, Tasya, her, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Bhaktavatsalah, one who is very much affectionate towards his devotees, Apandavam, without the existence of the Pandava's descendants, Idam, this, Kartum, in order to do it, Droner, of the son of Dronacharya, Astram, weapon, Abhudyata, understood it. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Sri Krishna, who is always very much affectionate towards his devotees, just hearing her could at once understand it that Ashwatthama, the son of Dronacharya, had thrown the Brahmastra just to finish their last life in the Pandavas' family. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The Lord is impartial in every respect, but still he is inclined towards his devotees, because there is great necessity of this for everyone's well-being. The Pandava family is the marked family of devotees, and therefore the Lord wanted such devoted family must rule over the world. That was the reason that he vanquished the rule of the company of Duryodhana and established the rule of Maharaj Yudhishthira. And as such, he wanted to protect Maharaj Parikshit also, who was lying in embryo. He did not like the idea that the world should be without the Pandavas, the ideal family of devotees. Text number 12. Tarihi evata munisrishta pandavaha panchashayakam atmano abhimukam diptam alakshya astraupada. Tarihi, for the matter of that. Eva, also. Atha, therefore. Munisrishta, O the chief amongst the Munis. Pandavaha, all the sons of Pandu. Pancha, 5. Sayakam, weapons. Atmano, ourselves. Abhimukam, towards. Diptan, glaring. Alakya, seeing it. Astra, weapon. Upadaduhu, took up. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O the chief amongst the great thinkers, Muni, for the matter of that, the Pandavas also took up their 5 respective weapons, seeing the glaring Brahmastra was proceeding towards them. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Brahmastras are finer than the nuclear weapons with control by the discharger. Ashwatthama discharged the Brahmastras simply for the purpose of killing the Pandavas, namely the 5 brothers headed by Maharaj Yudhishthira and their only grandson lying within the womb of Uttara. Therefore, Brahmastra, although more effective and finer than the atomic weapons, still the Brahmastra was not as blind as the atomic bombs. When the atomic bombs are discharged, they do not discriminate the target or the innocent. Mostly, the atomic bombs do harm to the innocent because there is no control over the discharged weapon. The Brahmastra is not like that. It marks out the target and proceeds accordingly without any harm to the innocent. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnanam Janashalakaya Chakshuran Meritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandana Kadhyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sarkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataha Adadana Strinam Dhanter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pekshako Nityam Tat Prishta Sadkaromisvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This particular section of Srimad Bhagavatam is very interesting because we see that Uttara, the wife of Abhimanyu, who had been killed on the battle of Kurukshetra, is basically pleading with Krishna, please protect. That the Brahmastra was coming to destroy her pregnancy, that there was the future Maharaj Parikshit. Now the point would be raised by some persons, why would Krishna be partial to his devotees? And Srila Prabhupada explains this in the purport to text 11. The Lord is impartial in every respect, but still he's inclined towards his devotees because there is great necessity of this for everyone's well-being. So Lord Krishna wanted that Maharaj Parikshit would be born to carry on the dynasty of the Pandavas. This is very important point. In text number 12, Prabhupada raises the point about the Brahmastra. We have all heard what the modern atomic weapons can do. It's pretty severe devastation. And the difference between these nuclear weapons and the Brahmastra weapons is the Brahmastra are very specific. That science is now lost, but in the Vedas, these Brahmastra weapons are not a blind weapon. It was, Prabhupada explains, when the atomic bombs are discharged, they do not discriminate between the target and others. Mainly, the atomic bombs do harm to the innocent because there's no control. The Brahmastra is not like that. It marks out the target and proceeds accordingly without harming the innocent. The point being here that Krishna can protect his devotee in any circumstances. One of Krishna's name in Sanskrit is Bhakta Vatsala. He is very dear to the devotee. He protects the devotee. We have all seen in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna told Arjuna, you declare it wildly to the whole world, Partha, Arjuna. Name bhakta pranasyati, my devotee will never perish. Krishna has made that promise, and in that particular lila, he is protecting Uttara, the wife of Abhimanyu. This is very significant, very important point. Right now, all around the world, there's great concern that there could be some very severe devastation with various conflicts because some of these countries are armed with devastating weapons, nuclear weapons, ballistic missiles, so many devastating weapons. But because there is no God consciousness, there's materialistic consciousness, these things take place. Because many people have sentimental idea about peace. Well, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita how this peace, shanti, how this shanti is achieved. Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam, chapter 5, text 29 of the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 5, text 29. Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, Suridam Sarvabhutanam, Yatvamam Shantim Richati. That great sages have achieved peace. Oh, here we go. Here's the text. Thank you, Prabhu. What is the translation? The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. So this is Lord Krishna's solution for peace, individually and collectively. People have to recognize the authority of God and sacrifice whatever activities they do, offer it to God. And recognize Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, that God is the owner of everything. He is the proprietor of everything, all the land, everything. And Suridam Sarva Bhutanam, he is the best friend of everyone. Prabhupada says that nationalism is very interesting, but why do they discriminate against the poor animals? Why the slaughter of so many innocent animals? During the Vietnam War, many devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, why is this war taking place? And Prabhupada explains, because of all this animal slaughters. In Sanskrit, the word mamsa, Prabhupada explains, mam means me, sa means he. You kill the animal, next life you will be killed by that same animal. But people do not understand this. They do not believe because they claim they don't see. You will see, they will see. At the time of death, they will see, they will experience. So it's very important points that are raised by Srila Prabhupada. And when we meet people, we can use these same points to try to bring some degree of sanity and basically give these books of Srila Prabhupada. We have the Srimad Bhagavatam still available for anyone to obtain and distribute. And as a last comment, I just want to say we're going to publish a Vyas Puja electronic book on our website. Anyone who would like to make an offering to Srila Prabhupada. Now, Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja this year will be in the first weekend in September 2026. Let us start preparing offerings to His Divine Grace, even if it's sinful offerings. Sometimes people have told me, well, I don't really know what to say. I never met Prabhupada. You can just offer obeisances or offer whatever realization you have, whatever eulogy, whatever homage, whatever obeisances you have, and we will be happy to print it. So thank you so much. If anybody else has any comments or chastisements, admonishments are also welcome at any time.
Hare
Please.
Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. I apologize to everyone, but I'm broadcasting from a hotel in Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm going to have to kind of stick to the time schedule. Probably have another maybe 10 minutes before I have to check out. But there is a question in the chat box from somebody named Jairaj. He says, Hare Krishna, nowadays many devotees chant 16 rounds on chanting machine and do not use japamala. Is it better to chant on japamala or on chanting machine? And these chanting machine that he's referring to are known as clickers. They're like little handheld pieces that you click every time you chant one mantra.
Well, ideally, it's best to chant on beads, but if you cannot chant on beads, either while driving a car or whatever situation you're in, chant on any circumstances. In the Kali Santarana Upanishad, Narada Muni requests Lord Brahma, are there any regulations for this chanting? The Kali Santarana Upanishad is the story in the Vedas how the Maha Mantra came to this earth planet. And Lord Brahma explained, no, there is no rules or regulations for the chanting. In the Shikshastakam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says, Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha. There is no strict rules. There are some rules, but one can chant anytime under any circumstance. Now, it's best if you can get some beads and chant, but I don't know if that's so recommended for most people to do while you're driving a vehicle or something. So you can also put a tape of Prabhupada chanting. That might help for concentration. Although there's some issues that have come up. Why do they put so many different background sounds or music or whatever? Just, you can have a tape, just a straight Srila Prabhupada chanting. That's also helps. Yes, Ishan Prabhu, you raise your hand, please. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
When you mentioned, I was thinking that to make that comment, why they have supplied these sounds. Srila Prabhupada's chanting, they're trying to decorate Srila Prabhupada's chanting, is nonsense. As Srila Prabhupada said, what is this? Listen to the mantra. But the question came up in what we were reading just now. Why did Krishna want the Pandavas to rule the world? And that was addressed in the purports as well. Is it because the Pandavas were his friends and he wanted them, and somebody stole away the throne, the asana? And is that why Krishna? No, he wanted to have people who were in charge of implementing a culture over the planet by which people would all become devotees of Krishna, so that the whole purpose of this material creation is only for our reclamation, for our redemption. And he wanted to have the Pandavas because they would implement a Krishna conscious culture.
Very
But
nice.
there are people like us, I'll be very brief, I'll go away, but the people who are destroying this culture, they're no different from Aswatthama, who's trying to kill the Pandavas and what they're going. The people of ISKCON, they're no different from Aswatthama. They may look, Aswatthama was a Brahmin. They're going to, but they're trying to remove Srila Prabhupada, who is introducing a culture that by which everyone can go back to Godhead, and they're trying to interrupt this whole process. They may be dressed in tilak and everything else. They're no different from Aswatthama. We have to understand in a very clear way like this. Hare Krishna.
Thank you
for your comments.
Go ahead, Ramaragava.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. It's from Chaitanya. Hare Krishna, can you please explain the difference between Srila Prabhupada's deity worship standard and the ones the GBC have introduced?
How many hours do you have? To put it very simply, that controversy has never been resolved. Let me explain briefly. In 1976, Prabhupada requested some Sanskrit editors to compile a book of 20 pages based on Hari Bhakti-Vilas. They ended up with a book which is almost 80 pages based on some puja manual that had been prepared in the Gaudiya Math. Now, I've never seen any direct recorded statement from Srila Prabhupada where he told the devotees to go to the Gaudiya Math and borrow their puja manual. They claim it's the puja manual that was written during the manifested presence of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but that was not what Srila Prabhupada requested. So the point being, until there is documentation where Prabhupada did recommend to do that, that question is still unresolved. The prayers and the Archana Padati are bona fide. They're not bad, they're bona fide. All the procedures may or may not be applicable or acceptable. The point is, we're still trying to ascertain where did Prabhupada say to follow that standard, the standard that the GBC introduced. Until such time, at least when you offer your bhoga or your food, you can follow the simple standard that Prabhupada introduced. Namo Vishnu Padaya 3 times, Namaste Saraswati Devi 3 times, Namo Mahabhadanyaya 3 times, Namo Brahmanya Devaya 3 times, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Hare Krishna. Offer it with love and devotion, and after 15 minutes, you can take the prasadam. So just this is a very brief synopsis of where things stand at this point in time. But thank you for your question. We can elaborate on that a little bit later at some other time.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. And with that, I'd like to go ahead with the Vancha Kalpa prayers.
Vancha Kalpa Taru Vyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaham I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like these are trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks everybody for joining into the program. Ram Raghava Prabhu, Ishan Prabhu, and all the Prabhus who have joined in the program, Prabhus and Matajis who have joined to the program. We invite you to come again next week and try to offer some eulogies to Srila Prabhupada. You can either send them to Ram Raghava Prabhu or myself, and we will make sure that your eulogies are published. It will be an electronic Vyasa Puja book. The last date for submission will be probably the last week in August of 2026. But let's start to activate this reasonably soon if we can. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Hare